and welcome to the Morningstar series, Why Should I Invest With You? I'm Emma Wall and I'm joined today by Richard Pease, manager of the Crux European Special Situations Fund. Hi Richard.
Hello.
So I think it's fair to say that you are feeling rather glass half full at the moment about the opportunities, despite some of the scary headlines around.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that understandably people can get very worried about some of these headlines. It's, whether it's about Ukraine or geopolitical risks and Syria and everything else. And I think the natural thing to do is to try and hide. But I think what I would sort of say is that we're not going to pretend we are just domestic Europe. We're not. Most of our companies are very global, and we think that's a good thing, by the way. But I think before one gets too frightened, I think what one should try and do is understand what's happened in the last 7 or 8 years. And we've had complete meltdown in '08. Financially speaking, we had a terrible time for industrials in '09. We've had all sorts of issues with emerging markets already, commodity prices, Ebola, wars, everything you can think of. And certainly the portfolio that we've got has handled this very well. And actually, if you've held your nerve, you've made very good money. And I think if you go forward and you worry about China and what might happen in Russia and Brazil and places, I don't see it as any worse than what we've been through, quite the reverse. And the markets really come back. And that's quite a useful opportunity as far as we're concerned if you're going to invest rather than just take a quick speculative punt. So we are actually, if anything, quite encouraged by the opportunities.
You've mentioned there about investing rather than speculating, and you said the phrase, if you held your nerve, you made money. All of that seems to allude to the fact that these types of stocks are long-term holdings. You may well lose a year with all the sort of volatility and contagion around, but for the long term, these are bets that will outperform.
Well, I wouldn't even use the word bets. I think they're great businesses with great cash flow characteristics, with lots of recurring revenue. Actually very under-geared balance sheets, if we're going to get technical, which allows all sorts of good things in terms of M&A to happen, either be bought or buy, all of which will be very accretive, obviously, for you as a shareholder. And I think that's right. I think people understandably get so terrified that they're going to be made to look foolish over the next 10 minutes because they could have bought it more cheaply tomorrow or something. And again, I think it's so important to mentally turn that screen off and invest, because I think the alternatives are far worse. You get nothing with the bank. I do think there's a bit of a bubble, seriously, in the bond market, and so I wouldn't be tempted by that. But these are companies which we think are on about 14 times earnings that has taken as a portfolio, yielding between 3.25% and 3.5%, with a very well-covered dividend, by the way. Free cash flow yield would be much more than that. As I said, very under-geared. And they've done very well over the last 10, 15 years. And so it's not that terrifying if you put it like that.
I suppose the question is then, if they have very little debt and quite a bit of cash from the sound of things, if that dividend's covered, what makes them special situations?
Well, I mean, I think the word special situations just allows me a bit more freedom. And I'm afraid we've obviously got certain things which I think could equal special situations because they're slightly more involved. But really what we're trying to do here is find companies which actually can avoid some of the problems with sort of regulatory issues and some of the problems with having to invest a lot of capital in difficult areas to get the growth, and just sort of stick to our knitting, regardless of what the benchmark might or might not be telling us to do. So it's more about that. I mean, I'm afraid special situations can mean almost anything, and in this case it probably does.
Richard, thank you very much.
Thank you.
This is Emma Wall from Morningstar. Thank you for watching.